So hello everyone, hope you're doing well, hope you're looking after yourselves. You're probably surprised to see me back on a society-based podcast. But yes, even though I left Brunel, I am still here talking about societies, sports clubs, all those fun things to do with university. And we've got another great society on. As you know, Society Spotlight is where we give a spotlight to societies at Brunel University. We learn more about what they do, we share the amazing things that they're sort of up to this year, but also we get to find out more about their committee members, why they came to Brunel, why they decided to be on the committee, and so forth. But, as usual, I don't like to do introductions because I think it's best to hear from the individuals themselves. So instead, I'm going to hand over to our two amazing guest speakers for today. One of them I do know. He's not that amazing, but I'll leave you guys to judge. But instead, I'm going to hand over to Maggie and Ronald. Let us know a bit more about you, what you do, and your society. Whichever one of you wants to go first. I realise I didn't actually say who should go first, but I'll let you guys pick.
Seeing as you know Ronald first,
okay.
he could
All right, then.
take the privilege.
Hello, my name is Ronald. I am a first-year computer scientist at Brunel, specialising in artificial intelligence. And as Jeffrey mentioned before, we have known each other in the past over at the Royal Air Force Air Cadets. And I think I was 13 at the time, and you were... Do you remember?
Well, honestly, man. You're in your first year of uni,
yes.
And I've graduated, so I probably would have been, if you were 13, maths. If you were 13, then I probably would have been either 18 or 19, I think. So literally I was on my way out.
Yeah, so he was a staff member while I was a teeny little cadet. And yeah, he brought me through the ranks. So all the way from nice little cadet to a cadet sergeant. I remember back then I was just like a shy little kid, just sitting in the corner. And then Jeffrey came up to me one time and just said, why don't you just go out there and talk a bit more, express yourself a bit. 3 years later, I won a few awards there, and now, I'm doing a podcast with him.
Yeah.
So it's been a good story.
Yeah, pretty cool. Thank you. Over to you, Maggie. Over to you.
I mean, first thing is, I think that's what cadets does to you, because I also did cadets for a few years. I was also RAF. I only got to Lance Corporal. But from, during those most impressionable years, you have that bit of discipline that, is something that instilled of you up until, when you grow up and whatnot. So I think it was really good that we have that to share between us, at least. But as I was saying, I am my first year economics student. And I did take a foundation year last year. So this year we have a committee full of first years, which is sort of, it's unconventional, but it's because a lot of us did do foundation year. So we're not new to the scene. We were participants in the society last year. We knew how it ran. We were quite close with the committee members last year as well. So because a lot of them graduated, they didn't really have a handover for the society this year. They didn't really have successors, or they didn't have an election. So we sort of had to start the committee up and the society from scratch this year. We had to reapply, all of that. It was a lot of paperwork, but it was worth it. We've had our first meet and greet in January, so we are still a fresh society. But we have a lot planned, and we'll talk about it in the podcast.
Sounds good.
Talk all about it.
Let's get started with the first question, which is, obviously you guys mentioned you're part of the Filipino society. I mean, some people might say by the name it's a bit obvious what you guys do, but what do you guys do? What? I guess that is an interesting question. What is the Filipino society at Brunel? What do they do?
Okay, so our goal for the society is that it's a safe space, not only for if you're born of Filipino heritage, but just for people to come and embrace the culture, because our culture and heritage is really rich. We have a lot, just talking with your friends who are Filipino or talking with your cousins, there are a lot of relatable situations that is something that our generation, I think, that weren't born in the Philippines or usually like born here in this country. The parents are second gen now, or third gen in my case, because my grandparents moved here. You lose a part of your identity being Filipino, because if you do go back home to the Philippines, say for holiday or whatever, there is sometimes a stigma about you just because you've moved to a first world country. They think, oh, you're much more privileged, you're much more blessed, but they don't realize how much hard work went into moving into that country. Not just yourself, but like your parents and the grit that it took for them to build a life here for us.
100%.
So there is typically like a stigma. There's always this sort of mentality, oh, you're more well off, treat us to dinner, treat us here, get this for me, get that for me. But it's not always the case. Like, it's not uncommon for that mentality. I like, if you've experienced it yourself and you went back home.
Yeah, so my parents, they were the ones that came to London first.
Right.
So I'm kind of, they've trained me or educated me here to become part of a legacy and start building a Filipino community here as well. It's the community over, like, say, in America, it's a lot stronger than it is here in London.
100%.
But I'm the sort of person that kind of wants to sort of grow that a bit more. Try and make it to the same influence as it is in America.
I think also it's about finding our own identity as being Filipinos born in this country. Because how would I put it? Being, like I already mentioned, you lose a part of that identity, that you weren't born there, you didn't grow up there, it's much more difficult to learn your mother tongue because stats say that Filipino is it's the second hardest language. It takes 6.7 years to reach fluency after Mandarin.
It's taken me more than 18.
Yeah, exactly. It's taken me more than 18. So part of it is because your your parents were the ones that moved here. So you were born here. You were the first.
Yes.
First, second gen, first gen. Your parents are going to have that conventional mindset from the Philippines because they're very traditional. They have very reserved outlook on life, quite modest, very humble. So it's difficult, especially if you're a girl, if you're a daughter, it's difficult for them to let you go in accordance to what's the normal societal expectations here in the UK, at least. So 100%. I still have friends who are 19, 20, and they have really strict parents, super strict parents. Like, you have their locations on, they can't stay out past 7 p.m. It's really difficult, and it's not just Filipino culture; it's ethnic.
Yeah, 100%.
It's ethnic households.
100%.
And so for them to adjust slowly, I think my parents did a great job of it because, I mean, my dad, he was born here, thankfully, but I say thankfully, but he did grow up in the Philippines anyway. Like, he moved there when he was 13, but they were able to adjust to what I wanted at the time, and at the same time, so for them, it's like they didn't want to clip my wings too early, but they wanted to make sure that I had a strong enough foundation to know morality, right and wrong, because when I moved to his sixth form, because it's an all-boys school up until sixth form, so he's a year younger than me. But when I moved there, it's a school in the heart of London, like in Fulham, and I came from South London, Croydon, a convent girls' school, and it was just I felt like it was a different breed of. It's hyperbolic to say a different breed of people, but
it's a change of dynamic.
It's a very big change of dynamic. You have, I'm going to slightly expose the oratory, but on weekends it's very normal to see that there's easy use of drugs, there's easy and it's normal, but for me it's not. So that's happening in the corner of a party, but then on Monday morning we have a mass. I don't know, it was a very, very big change. So it opens your eyes as to how big the world is. But I think that's why we want to do something with the society to allow you to like feel grounded. So whilst you're stepping into this big new world of university, difficult to navigate, especially if you're like the first person in your family
100%.
to go to uni in the UK. You want to find people that you can trust and relate with and ask for guidance. And that's what we want to do. Yeah.
That's really cool. And yeah, I definitely agree. To touch on a few things, definitely agree. Number one, I don't know the comedian I saw on Instagram, but this comedian was literally saying like what you said, that he's, I think he was Kenyan, and he was just like, he's lives in London, but he was just like, his concern is always literally like we said, like if he was like when he posts on Instagram and his like cousins or like family members back home see, he's very cautious because he's just like you want to show that you're doing well, but you can never show you're doing too well, because you're just like sometimes you'll see people be like, oh wow, like I see you've got like, I don't know, like you said you got a new job or you got like a new car, or I see you went on a nice like holiday abroad, you know, back home we don't get access to all of these cool things, and yeah, there is sometimes that like disconnect of like,
absolutely,
just because you're in the UK doesn't mean that like you're suddenly like super rich or doing really well.
It takes time. It really does take a long time, and especially since coming from a third world country, from the Philippines to a first world, the education difference is massive. It's a really big difference. I'd say one of the main ones obviously is the language, the dialect. For me, since I was born and raised in London, I didn't really have that much sense of speaking Tagalog, because my parents, since coming here, they had to learn it alongside with me.
Right.
And so every time I go back there, there's always this sort of language barrier between me and my cousins and family.
Yeah.
And so just being here by myself with, say, maybe one or two cousins and a lot of other Filipino friends, it's not the same as spending your life in another country with your family.
Right.
100%. Yeah.
That's one thing that I do really miss about the Philippines. Like when I did go in 2018, it's that I was old enough to realize that that is where most of my family is, and that's the only place that I truly felt like, I don't know, I truly felt like home. Like I do have family here in the UK, and we do always make an effort to get together, Christmas, etc. But like it's where my mum's siblings are, where my dad's cousins are and whatnot. So I really felt like you can go home and you know that that's where you'll be loved unconditionally. And not to say that you don't experience that with your immediate family, but you have cousins and aunties and all of that support. Like it's a support network that 100%. I think is something that a lot of people might not realize, that it's a missing piece that you don't have while you're here maybe.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And I think also, as you mentioned, that there is that sort of like the disconnect with not only just like the language, but also having the pacing, because a lot of people do say it, especially when they like, if they're from, I wouldn't even just say like if you're from like an ethnic background, like in general, there's like something about London, and people say it even when they like live out, like someone who lives outside of London and moves to London like a later stage, right? Everyone says London's just very like, it's like I'm rushing to work, I'm rushing here, like it's fast paced.
Yes, and I also think it's very grey. It's a very grey place to live in, and something about frequencies that you look around, you're commuting to work, it's a grey environment, people are all on their phones scrolling, they're all really fast paced, they're all rushing to do the next thing. And what this is saying about frequencies, if you're on the tube, you're commuting, everyone's really like that. But then if you're going on holiday, or if you stepped into a 5-star hotel with people in high positions, high privilege, etc., they're very slow, they're very mellow. You don't see people rushing around in the hotel lobby. They're reading a book, they're reading the Times newspaper, etc. And there's something about frequencies that you have to pay attention to. Like, I'm a firm believer that you're a product of your environment. So you don't want to, I'm not saying you don't want to, but you have to be aware of when you are caught in that fast pace, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to think about this, all of that. And then you forget that you're just in the process. you often forget that you just need to enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, literally as you mentioned, like you'll go, I don't know, like for me, I might go to Nigeria. This other person who does a podcast, they were saying they went to Congo, and they were saying that it's again like a lot very like slow paced, and it's just like that difference in when you're in like, I think like speaking from like UK broadly, but like I said, I've only lived in London, so there's that understanding of like it's very like, and even like I know my parents when they moved here, they were saying like it's very like cold disconnect, like it's just like people don't really like to smile and say hello all the time. People are more just like, I need to get from A to B, and like no one get in my way and disturb me on my commute to get there. But yeah, I think like you said, it's just like when you do go home, you'll sometimes just see that like it's very like relaxed. You'll see that like, I don't know, like random people in the street will come and say hello. They'll smile. They're a bit more friendly. And yeah, there's just something about, like you said, like going back home that's just different to like being in the UK sometimes.
It gives you perspective. It just gives you a lot more perspective.
Yeah.
The thing is, I feel like London is just a very diverse area.
It is.
It is.
And the fact that people are going too fast paced with their lives, they forget that, you know, there's a lot of people out there with different unique stories and, you know, celebrations that everyone can actually participate in. And the fact that people just, you know, just really are in London just to work, make a living, mainly, they really do need to take a step back, you know, get everything else into perspective, that, you know, you're there not just to work, but also to enjoy life.
100%.
And, you know, knowing people from different backgrounds, different cultures, different religions, I've just find it very, very refreshing that, you know, speaking to different people, it's just, it just makes me breathe a lot better, you know.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, we're going to go back to the next question for the societies, which is all about, I guess, the specifics of what you guys do as a society. So for anyone who may not know about you guys, maybe they recently joined in January, they had their refreshers fair. What's something that you guys, not one thing, but what's stuff that you guys do? What type of events do you guys hold?
Essentially, most of our events are driven by just having an enjoyable time with our community. So the first event we did host was a meet and greet. We had iconic Filipino food. We had spring rolls, vegetables and chicken spring rolls. We had vegetables pancit, which is stir-fried noodles.
Oh, nice.
And we hosted basically the meet and greet. It was just like a games night. Our secretary, he managed to get bamboo sticks. On the day of a meet and greet, he drove down to where was it? It was near.
It was outside London.
It was near Brighton. Basically, it was a 2-hour drive because he had to go to a bamboo supplier.
Okay.
And he was super eager to get it for us so that we could have it on the day, because the bamboo sticks is for something called tinikling. Tinikling is it's a native dance basically. Where the sticks are on the floor and you tap it against the floor, and it's sort of like skipping. Well, minus the rope, but you're jumping up and down on the floor and you're trying not to get your ankles crushed, basically. If you can find a video for that.
We could put a video.
probably better explanation there. But I think for us, that was our highlight.
Yeah, especially since we weren't expecting like a great number of people to actually come visit us, because we just started in January, and then like 2 weeks later we're hosting our first event.
But it was a pleasant surprise. There was a really good turnout actually. So we didn't quite know how many Filipinos were on campus or at the uni, and then we had maybe about 50 people coming.
Oh, wow.
But it wasn't just Filipinos as well.
Yeah,
it was
no, it
people
wasn't,
just interested as well in our culture, so which is a good thing.
Yeah, 100%. Because I think that is have we had a cultural society on before? I don't think we have. But I mentioned in previous episodes that there is that tendency that people think that like, oh, if it's a cultural society, you have to be from said culture.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We have a few people on our committee, they're not even Filipino, but they just love the culture.
And even myself, I've joined the Malaysian Society. I've participated in events from CSSA, which is the Chinese Scholars Society as well. And yeah, they hosted, I think, a Chinese New Year's event recently.
Yeah.
And that was quite fun. I thoroughly enjoyed myself, even though, you know, at times I didn't really understand what they were saying because obviously they're mostly international students. So it can be a bit tough to put that into translation. However, you know, they still welcomed everyone who wasn't, say, Chinese or Malaysian.
Yeah, but I think that it goes to show what their aim for their society is as well, because for them, they have a lot of international students on campus at the uni. So they want to create that environment, same as us, that they can they can relate to each other. You know, they can form their own support network. And we're making an effort to collaborate with other cultural societies, especially the Nepali society. We have a sports day coming up soon, and also a karaoke night. They're really exciting events that we're going to talk about shortly.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, you heard it here first. Book your tickets now. But it's going to be good. They have a really lovely committee, and they just have a similar ideologies for what they want to achieve as well. But I think that's it. It's just really building a family at uni, I think, is what cultural society is meant to be about.
100%.
It doesn't want to be anything complicated. It's just that simple. You just want to be around the people.
100%.
Yeah.
And it is great to have those, networks of like people, because I think especially as you mentioned, like with international students, a lot. You're coming over here, you might have like 1 or 2 family members based here, but not necessarily a lot. So it's nice to have like a community where, you know, so like I know during one of the people that we had on the podcast before, like she was an international student from Portugal.
Right.
She joined Brunel, I think, just before COVID happened. So when lockdown was happening, she couldn't travel back home. So she was based here, and she was saying like campus, it was kind of tough on campus because obviously everyone had to like stay within their accommodation and self-isolate. But it was really, she said what she really liked was the fact that she was able to like connect with different people and just still like other international students, because obviously like if you're a home student, you just went home. But for a lot of international students, they weren't able to at least immediately travel back home. So she said it was really nice to have like that sense of community on campus where like other international students or other students who couldn't necessarily go back home as easily could just come together. They could sort of have that support. So I definitely agree there's something cool about cultural societies and how they just build up like a family of people. Yeah. But yeah, we're going to go on to the next question, which is all about what you guys... Well, I guess it was kind of going to be about like what's your favourite events have been.
We're still new.
But yeah.
We're very fresh.
But I guess maybe you... Okay, let's do it like this. So we'll change the question a bit. So the first question will be like, what events have you got coming up that people should be aware of? And then, yeah, I'll ask the second part to that question.
So as previously mentioned, during March, we will be collaborating with the Nepali Society for both sports day and karaoke. I believe that sometime along the academic year as well, we might be doing a sort of an event where we serve halo halo, which is a nice treat. It's a nice cold treat.
It's a delicacy. It's a very iconic Filipino delicacy. It's shaved ice mixed with a sweet cream, and you've got different components. It's called halo halo because it directly translates to mix. You're meant to mix everything in that. I don't know if I should call it a drink or a dessert.
No, I'd say dessert.
I'd say dessert because there are edibles in there. So you've got like plantain, you've got jackfruit, you've got jellies, you've got sometimes there's sweet corn, coconut. There's bean
there's leche flan as well.
Leche flan as well. Yeah, we serve it at the restaurant, and it's always... I despise it. I despise making it because it's a lot of components. I mean, I like shaving the ice though. It's really satisfying.
Thing is, I've done something similar to that back in sixth form.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
So
I was so proud when I saw him. I was super proud.
Yeah, so back in year 12, we did try and create a Filipino society there. Yeah. But it got shut down just because our
it was too new for them.
But our head of sixth form as well, they thought that it was too exclusive.
Right.
Because
Okay.
It just,
And
Filipinos.
there was no such thing as a cultural club
Yeah.
back then, so they didn't want to encourage the wrong sort of thing just yet. If there was a structure that we could have proposed when I was in year 13 and he was in year 12, I think it would have been better. But it was just too early, wrong time, I think. So they did end up having, what was it?
So eventually, I think as when you left for year 13 for your exams,
Right.
for your A levels, they hosted an international culture day, just celebrating different cultures within our sixth form.
Yeah.
And I had the idea to actually do something on that day, and which was to create halo for people. And that really grabbed a lot of attention, not just from Filipinos, but also from other students there. And it gained a lot of attention that the head of sixth form actually changed her mind. And I asked her, can we just host one day full of Filipino celebrations? And she said yes, as long as it paves the way for other cultures to follow as well. And eventually in year 13, we did try and create a massive one. It turned out to it was mainly for charity actually, so it was quite a good cause. And we eventually raised quite a lot of money. I think it's one of the highest recorded, just for student handling.
Yeah.
And I'm quite proud of it, and I'm quite proud of my team as well.
Well, this is the legacy that you're talking about, that you want to leave. So you did manage to leave that legacy at the oratory.
Yeah, man, that's really good. And yeah, I think like one quick thing to add is, as you guys have already mentioned, is like, I guess like a bit of generic advice for uni students is that like taking the initiative, because we mentioned it previously as well. But if you don't see a society like set up, like I know there are like, I think there's like over 150 at Brunel.
Yeah.
But if you don't see a society that meets your needs or like what you're doing, you are able to set up your own one. I'll include the link somewhere of like the episode we did speaking about that. But yeah, you are able to set up your own society to like, as long as there's not one that obviously like already exists that does what you do. So I know especially the like, I've been, I don't know if fortunate is the right word, but I've been involved in like the setup of a society and like being a part of a society that already existed. And it is nice to always just see the multiple ones available. Because yeah, there are academic societies. We've kind of met you, as you sort of already heard here. There's cultural societies, there's religious societies, there's I guess like activities and hobby societies. So I think there was like an art society as well at some point when I was at Brunel. So yeah, there are quite a few that do like loads of different things. But yeah, I definitely recommend like if you don't see one that you are interested in, like not necessarily you're interested in joining, but if you don't see one that you're just like, wow, there's like a gap in the market. So like I think when I joined Brunel, there wasn't a Filipino society.
That was established in 2018.
Yeah. So when I came, like it wasn't there at all. But obviously people thought there wasn't a community, and they set one up.
But yeah, I mean, if you have an idea, it's an application. The worst that can happen is it gets rejected, but you can just try again.
100%.
You know, it's just if we achieved it this year, you guys can achieve it. I'll be very honest with you. The origin of a society this year was my friends were just talking about it on a bus. We were on the way to Wetherspoons, and we just spiraled into a manifestation of a society. It was like, oh my God, we just send an application. You can take this role, I can take that role. It will work out. We can have a meet and greet. And it just happened. It really just starts with a conversation or just an idea. And then after the meet and greet, we were proud to say the least, but we were also like, we really just achieved that. And it was just a meet and greet. And that was a tip of the iceberg. But it was a lot of planning, and I think for us it was more about we just executed everything that we had planned.
100%.
It's the next thing now. But
just a word of advice though, if you ever do plan to start a society, it does take a lot of work.
Oh, it is.
At the very start, it's all about setting everything up, getting committee members on, make sure everything in terms of like the legal side maybe as well.
Mental health is really important to us at Pick Up the Mic, and we love to share resources that can support your mental health. And that's why we are so glad to have today's sponsor. Thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service and is 100% online. With BetterHelp, you can tap into a network of over 30,000 licensed and experienced therapists who can help you with a wide range of issues. To get you started, you just answer a few questions about your needs and preferences in therapy. That way, BetterHelp can match you with the right therapist from their network. Then you can talk to your therapist however you feel comfortable, whether it's via text, chat, phone, or video call. You can message your therapist at any time and schedule live appointments when it's convenient for you. If your therapist isn't right for any reason, you can switch to a new therapist at no additional charge. With BetterHelp, you get the same professionalism and quality you expect from in-office therapy, but with a therapist who is custom-picked for you, more scheduling flexibility, and at an affordable price. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/pickupthemic. I've also linked them down below in the description. So again, that's betterhelp.com/pickupthemic, MIC, and start your journey today.
Yeah, just a word of advice. If you are starting a society, it does take a lot of work to put into actually setting it up and getting that icebreaker done.
Yeah.
Just because, getting committee members around and just finding people to actually join that first event, that can be a bit challenging at first. But as long as you have good communication between your team and between society members as well, which is also important, then your event will actually be quite a success.
Yeah, just
better than you think.
You can do it. You can definitely do it if we can do it. That's all I'm going to say. But don't underestimate that you're very much working with a team, which is you have to manage your team. And it's like, even if they're your friends, you have to have a distinction between when you're talking about work and when you're talking about your friendship. Because that's a boundary that I set very early on with my friends, because a lot of them are on the committee. And it was like, if I'm asking you for a deadline, please don't take it personal if I'm sounding quite demanding for it. It's completely separate to how I feel about you as a person. And it's just for us to practice our professionalism as well, because we all rely on different things from each other, and 100%. We're all like playing on each other's strengths and weaknesses that I've learned as the president. And I don't know, I think we've been doing really well so far. We've been doing really well so far.
I'm actually very surprised how...
Yeah, I was also quite surprised.
Yeah. The fact that I came, Maggie only brought me into the Filipino society because she only noticed that I just joined after they had that little conversation.
I thought you were going to say I only brought you in because I knew you. No, there's no sort of nepotism.
No, there's no nepotism.
No, I trusted in his application. He went through the full application interview process and everything.
And you have known that I have performed well in the past with sixth form events as well. So, it's not my first time.
It's not his first rodeo, guys. No.
But yeah, I think it's really important, as you guys mentioned, because I think, let's talk about that. Because I think one of the things people get afraid of when either hearing about joining a committee societies, because I guess at this moment of recording, society elections are...
Oh, yeah.
They're going to be happening soon.
Yeah.
So I guess my question to you guys is, what would you say for anyone who's a bit nervous? Because I think, as you mentioned, one of the biggest concerns is always your committee, of can you even get a committee? And if it's not people that you know or people that you knew of from the society, they were active members in the society, because ultimately, and this is an unfortunate thing, it's happened to me many a times, you will have people who might join a committee because they're just like, oh, hey, I just need something cool on my CV, or I just need to stand out as a cool candidate for jobs. But sometimes they're not necessarily actively or want to be involved with the running of this. They just want the position because it's something that looks good when applying to jobs and stuff. So I guess for anyone who's concerned about their committee, what would you guys say as people who are, one, you're as you mentioned, you're very new society, but also what would you say for someone who is just in that boat, that they're just very concerned about what their committee could look like?
Okay. From my own experience, I think humans are very simple. And all it takes is sometimes just a conversation. But then also, if you are in a position of power, like you are the chairman or the president, you do have to realize quite quickly where the strengths and weaknesses are for each person.
100%.
So if you're stuck in that position, unfortunately, that you do have a committee member who's not pulling their weight, you have to work around that until, like, you know, the election like comes along again, and then you know, someone can. Anyway, but that's not the point. The point is it's manageable. It's 100% manageable, but also if you already do have a team that you can rely on, and it's just a situation where someone's like tight on a deadline, or again, it's just a conversation to have with them. Is there something going on? Is there something I can help you with? Because a huge part of managing a team is delegation.
100%.
So personally, I wouldn't like to delegate something unless I'm willing to do it myself, or I have done it myself in the past. So that being said, is if anyone does need help on something, I know that I can step in and give them advice about the certain thing that I've delegated the task for, you know.
And I think to add up on that as well, the fact that we are in a senior position as well with sort of role models, we need to ensure that everyone is doing what we are trying to do as well. So whatever they do, we need to make sure that we're involved as well, and not just leaving them with all the work and then leaving us to do nothing at all. That's not how it works. Especially since, you know, all of us have busy lives, especially in uni, with our course, our deadlines. What I like to do is just set a soft deadline first for your committee members to do, I don't know, say advertising or planning events. And if they're ever stuck on work or anything like that, we're there to help them, but they need to make sure that they can communicate that back to us. So we know that, okay, maybe they're not able to do it, and we can just pass it on to someone else or just share the workload as well. And I think that's very important in such a team where communication is key, and in order to be successful, just honesty all around is important.
And it takes quite a lot of egging on. Like you need to get your team on the same page, and you need to get them as like enthusiastic and as encouraged as you are. Because at the end of the day, when you are in a position of power, like, well, I wouldn't say that. That's quite. I am.
Sounds a bit superior.
Exactly. When you do have a bit of authority, even at this young age, you're not going to realize, or you might realize that if you have a passion for something, you have to. It's going to be tiring or tolling that you have to always egg other people on, and then there might be situations where you think, what is it all for? Why am I trying so hard for this cause, and then other people aren't trying as hard? But that's not necessarily your fault.
100%.
You know, so you had to have that awareness within yourself that you have to just keep that passion for your own sake, but also not necessarily just at the expense of others. Like you can't lose that passion because other people aren't just as passionate, you know. But it does take a lot of egging on. Just, oh, have you done? He always sends me messages. He always sends me reminders, and sometimes they're quite scary because they're all in cap locks. And I was like, cases deadline, March or something like that. And I was like, thank you, Ronald. I know I can organize my time, but I don't take it. I take it with a pinch of salt. I don't take it personally at all. I know. It's completely like just so that we're all on the same page about what we're working on. And also, he was just talking about it's just communication. It's like, okay, you're working on this, I'm working on that. Don't be ready for that, you know. But yeah.
Yeah. If I've got this. There we go. It's working correctly.
Okay.
Yeah, I think what's really cool from what you guys are saying is, as someone who's like works in the working world, who can actually, finally now say that. After 6 years at Brunel, I think it's really key because I think, as you guys like mentioned, like what you're saying is like management skills. So those are things that, like, whether you're like, I don't know, like both from the sense of a business owner, but also as a sense of someone who like works in an organization. Like skills, like you mentioned, like managing time, like working effectively with others, managing deadlines, leadership skills. These are all things that are really important, and it's really clear to see that like you guys as a society have got that to a T. I know obviously like you said, like stuff happens, stuff doesn't always work out, or people have stuff that they need to deal with. But it's clear that you guys have like at least established like a common understanding of like everything. And yeah, someone who's like runs his own business, it's clear like that's something that like people do say like startups do struggle with, is that like leadership thing and managing. And I think as you mentioned before, like managing when you're working with friends, that like clear difference between like this is us, like this is where like we're speaking as friends now, like this is where we're friends, and then this is where we're like sorting out stuff for the society, or this is where we're committed, this is where we're like making sure we meet our deadlines, or like we submit cases on time and make sure that we like get all the applications in for events in on time and stuff like that. So yeah, it's something that is very like, it's not an easy thing to sort of like master or do, but it's very clear that you guys have figured out like as a society how to maximize that potential.
I think Ronald knows I'm very different when I'm leading a meeting and when I'm just at the after party getting everyone drunk. Like when I'm in a meeting, it's almost as if I am a different person, to be honest, because you know the professionalism just takes over, and But then I also know how to throw it down. I also know how to have a good time. I was like, Ronald, take another shot with me. But yeah.
Yeah, and I think that is also another good thing to have, because I think sometimes, as you mentioned, like especially if people like, I'm not saying there is necessarily nepotism within societies, don't quote me on that, but I will say there is definitely like sometimes the power. I have been in societies where people have said the power have gone to certain people's heads, and especially like they might give their friends grace who are on the committee, but other people they don't. But I think, like you said, like having that, like knowing when, like, okay, like this is where we need, this is crunch time, this is where when we got to like meet deadlines, be very focused, and then hey, look, like we've done a really good event, let's just like relax, chill, and enjoy ourselves. Knowing the difference between the two and knowing when to switch between the two is something that's really needed.
Yeah, just celebrating the little things in life is really something that makes my life enjoyable a lot more. Even so, when, you know, my days are busy with computer science and just working with the society, but also with my work life as well.
I mean, that being said, like, I'm the type of leader who's very like, okay, it's crunch time, you're right. But also, if you just sent me a message before and it was like, Maggie, I don't think I can go to the meeting later, I've got a date or whatever. Like, I'm very real. We're at university. This isn't meant to take up your whole life.
100%.
You know, I was like, have a great day. I'll send you the minutes later, you know. And also, like, it's for me and the committee to like have that trust between each other, because I don't want to be wondering where you are and then have all of these ideas, whereas you can just tell me, because I'm really quite relaxed about that. But also, as long as you're just fulfilling like what I've delegated or what I've asked you to do, you know, you get your job done. You get to have the time as well. But
there's a certain trust between our committee members where we know that you don't have to attend because you are doing the job that you're meant to be doing. And so everyone else knows that too.
But they attend because they want to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's also punctuality is also important.
Yeah, we haven't really had much of an issue, but they also know, like, they can just tell me if something's up. But yeah,
that's very important and very good. Before we come to the very end, there's two last things we're going to ask you guys. So the first one is looking forward. So we're in February when we're recording this now. February 2025, where are you hoping the society will be?
Oh, that's a really good question, actually.
Planning the next gala. So it's great that we could mention this, because next week we are invited. Oh, well, we bought tickets. I say we were invited because, of course, the society only started in January officially. But if there was a proper handover, we would be involved in planning the Philly Salt Gala. So this is an annual tradition where a bunch of universities across the UK collaborate. You've got Oxford Brookes, you've got Herts, you've got Kingston, like all of the unis in London, and then those who want to participate out of London as well. So next week, Thursday, we basically just come together. We all get dressed up, black tie.
Nice.
There'll be performances, like dinner as well.
Yeah.
And hopefully next year we'll be like part of your affiliated unis to organize that.
Previously our society has hosted alongside other unis as well. It's only this year that because of the change of leadership, we don't really know them that well. But we're hoping that when we do go this year, we'll be able to network a bit.
Yeah, that's our plan.
Which she really wanted me to do instead of enjoying myself. But so it's just really networking first before we can establish our grounds and start working with other unis as well.
And also, I want to get merch out.
Merch?
I really want to get some Filipino society merch out.
Okay.
So keep an eye out on that. I'm gonna have some designs coming up soon.
Very nice.
That's been on the low key, but it's pending.
It's pending. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You heard it first. And the very last question, which some might say is the toughest, is why should students join your society?
If you just want to have a good time, let your hair down. Come to some good after parties. And it's not even, you don't have to drink either. There are people who we're friends with and they don't drink. They just have a good time.
Yeah.
That's what our society is about. Mabuhay means like life. That's one of, besides kamustaka, it's another greeting. Mabuhay is, it's just like life, you know. And we're at a stage in our lives where we're here to experience different things. So whether you're Filipino, whether you're just curious, whether you just want to be around people who know how to have a good time and also know how to, like, we know how to have a good time, but we also know how to
control ourselves,
discipline ourselves, and we don't really have a choice because our parents have that pressure on us. So during the daytime, of course, we're studying. You want a study partner? That's fine. Hit me up as well, you know? So I think that's what's good about our society. It's like there's nothing else that you'll lose besides just a night of your life and just to see how we are, you know?
And even then, we can help with your work, social life balance as well. And just having a good time really in our society is all that's ever done.
Yeah.
Hardest question?
Yeah,
did you say?
No, it's not that hard, maybe.
No, it's a good answer. It's always interesting to ask because, you get different, you always get different opinions and they all, not like in a bad way, but they're all very good because they all highlight the uniqueness of each society.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. But we come to the end. I've asked all the questions that I can ask. Before we do our outro and wrap up, what is the best way? Two things. So what is the best way for people to connect with you guys, find out you guys on socials and all of that stuff? But then also, obviously, being a society, you guys are on Brunel's student union website. How is the best way for people to join your society if they're interested in joining? Is it a paid membership? Is it free? All that fun stuff. So let's start with the socials. Where's the best? Where are you guys at on all socials?
We're on Instagram. That's our main social media. If you just want to pull through to an event, you don't need a membership until you decide that it's the society for you. That's when you can buy a membership for £4. In due time, we will have membership cards, and that membership entitles you to discounted entry to certain events and other exclusive perks. But I think the membership card alone is worth it. It's going to be a nice membership card, I promise you guys. If you're quite gimmicky,
Cheaper karaoke prices.
Cheaper karaoke prices for sure. But karaoke is going to be something great because we're going to book out Simmons, hopefully.
Okay.
So, because they do like a semi-private area. So that will just be for us and anyone who wants to pull up.
Nice.
Jeffrey, if you fancy singing.
I like a bit of karaoke.
Do you have vocals?
I've got vocals. I won't do it on the podcast, but I've got vocals. I might have to hit you guys up about that. But what is your Instagram at?
At Brunel Philly Sock.
Simple as.
Simple as. It will also appear somewhere on the screen as well. So and it'll be in the description below if you want to know more. Also you can check out them on, as I mentioned, Brunel Student Union website. If you go to the societies part, it's got all the societies there. You can get the socials there and also get your membership there too. But yeah, we come to the end of this episode. Thank you, Maggie and Ronald, for coming on. It's been great speaking to you guys. And thank you to you, our wonderful audience, for coming on for another episode. If you like this episode of the Society Spotlight, then please do give us a like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to make sure you don't miss any other episodes of this or of our other podcasts under the Pick Up the Mic YouTube channel, then please make sure that you hit that notification bell to be one of the first people to see it. You'll get the notification when the episode immediately drops. Next, if you're interested in receiving some perks, maybe you want to support the podcast. Funnily enough, you mentioned merch. I'm not wearing it today, but I will have a nice fancy picture of me up here that we are looking to start doing our own merch as well. We have got the design, we've got our first print. So if you are interested in merch, then make sure that you are either a YouTube channel member by clicking the link down below, or if you know a bit more about Patreon, you prefer to using Patreon, please do check out our Patreon. You get great perks, you get early access to episodes as well as other stuff, and as we move more into doing events, you will get some additional perks there as well. And then finally, if you want to check out our other channels, so as I mentioned, we have a sci-fi and fantasy channel with the Two Maesters hosted by Joshua and Morgan, so check out that on our main YouTube. Like when you load onto YouTube, it's right at the top. For the Pick Up the Mic channel, if you're interested in anime, please do check out Senseis of Anime, where we speak to cosplayers, anime organizations, we help them with their events, we do recordings at events. Funnily enough, we've got a recording coming out tomorrow, so if you see me wearing cosplay costume, that's why. And then finally, if you're interested in gaming, then please do check out Pick Up the Controller, our podcast on gaming, not only talking about like our favorite games and stuff, but also the need for diversity, equity and inclusion within the field of gaming. That's it for today. We're gonna put a close to today's episode, and we'll see you the next time when we put another society in the spotlight, learn about them, learn about their committee, but most importantly, we share why you should join their society. So that's a bye from us here. Wishing you all the best, and we will speak to you guys soon. Take care. Cool.